Oh, okay. All right, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. And I'd like to be able to call this meeting to order this evening at 6:03 p.m. All right, verification of a public notice. Meeting has been publicly noticed. Verification of a quorum. We have 5 members in attendance and 1 member online. So we have 6 members. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Dr. Vito, I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Tabling.
I think it's already, is it already on for here?
Yeah.
You took it off?
No, it's on here. With the exception of 3D.
Okay. Dr. Vito, I'd like to approve the agenda with the exception of 3.
All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second?
That should be a correction. It should be 2B.
No. It is 2D.
We're talking about 2
Something
different
different,
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is 3.
3B.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
2B and 3B.
Yes.
2B and 3D.
Yeah. So no new hires and the parent athletic code guidebook. I'm sorry.
Look, we stuck on there. Do we really have to take 2B off? Heather would just.
You just don't have any, so that's.
Unlike he does all the time. Right.
Okay. All right, Ms. Peterson, you want to go ahead and do that? Well, we did the motion. Would you like to restate the motion, please?
For clarity, I only would have to say 3D, correct?
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the exception of or excluding 3D.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. We have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. The motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye.
Aye.
Ms. Robinson? Any opposed? Okay, I got the aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries 6-0. And the reading of our mission statement, together with our families and community, we will inspire students to be passionate learners, creative thinkers, and innovative leaders who enrich our world. All right, let's go on to item number 2, our business office reports. Mr. Clemming.
A very brief update this evening. First of all, we are in the final throes of revising our employee handbooks for the 23-24 school year. With the changes in the payroll department this summer, it's been a little tough getting those done, but we are getting them done, and considering it was 6 years in between revisions last time, it's only a year this time. That's pretty good. So I'm going to take that. So we're working on that right now. It's going through an administrative review. And then my plan is to send them to the board, either hopefully by Friday, if not Friday this weekend, to give you over a week to review. I do highlight in these drafts what's changed, so you don't have to read the whole thing. But you can highlight, you can see what has changed in our handbooks this year to last year. So I plan to have those for you, again, like I said, hopefully by the end of the week, and then we'll have those approved by the board on it. Just wanted to provide a quick update, some good news, I guess, related to transportation. I met this morning with Rightway and our new terminal manager that he started right at the end of the school year last year. And so we were discussing a few things related to transportation, and they have kind of revamped their hiring practices. So as of right now, they are fully staffed for the upcoming school year, including they have a few charter drivers available, which they did not have last year. So as we start to fill in the schedule with our sporting events, sport transportation, we'll see how that works. But we are optimistic that we may be returning to a little closer to pre-pandemic staffing levels when it comes to also with that we had a number of issues last year or concerns from families about using the app, the Here Comes the Bus app. They believe that all of those issues have been worked out. So we will again be encouraging families to download the app and enter their student data information. And then of course, they'll get the real-time GPS tracking of the bus, and they'll get updates from Rightway directly when there are delays that they need to know about or drop off. And then, so that's good news. So we'll see how that goes as we start on September 1st with busing.
A question with you, Kevin, and in relation to our contract with Right Way, is this our first year of the renewed contract? This is the second year? And then, but we have to go back out again is it year 3?
Sometime during the 24-25 school year, we will have to go.
All right. Did we need to have an increase in the number of routes that we have scheduled for this year compared to last year?
Well, as of now, it's still early because we don't have all the kids registered yet, but basing on what we have right now, we are going to be going with 8 home to school routes, 2 noon routes. Now, for a while last year, we had to have 3 noon routes, so there was a little extra cost for us there. And we may need to add 1 additional special education route. So because of the needs of specific students. So right now, we're going in with 8, 2, and 3 as our main goal. And we're going to revisit it within the first 4 weeks just to see how ridership is and if there's any possibility of making adjustments in this.
And then the reason we're going from 3 to 2 is it as the number of K4 students that are coming from the afternoon and main drop?
That's what we had to do last year for a while. We're going back to 2 to start. So we're going back. So the offset of the special ed route will be kind of covered by what we spent last year on the noon route. So hopefully we can kind of keep costs in that area. And again, we'll review it a little more closely to see where, what the usage is like. I just filed the transportation report, which was actually just signed a little while ago. And we ended up having, I think 35 additional students compared to the year before. So it's not a lot. Some of that depends on where were they, whether we needed to have the route. But I know last year as well with Right Way, there were concerns during the construction. We had the construction on Green Bay Road and Brown Day Road for a good portion of the year, well, actually all year. And that affected how fast routes could get through and road closure. So we weren't able to do any kind of real consolidation last year. So we'll look at it more closely this year to see once we get our full count in.
Okay, and last question. Is there an extra charge for us for a route for students with disabilities?
Well, when those buses are more expensive, yes, because they're wheelchair accessible. All 3 buses we have are wheelchair accessible.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about transportation? But I will update the board once I get a better sense of where we're at. That sounds like football practice.
I was going to like somebody in their office is real happy. They just say that. I mean, that's a good thing.
This football practice right below us. Locker room.
Remember them sound.
And then finally, a few months ago, the question was brought to the board regarding the potential of offering snacks for the 4K groups. And we had some conversation with Airmark and DPI, and we have gotten clarity that snacks cannot be provided to 4K out of Fund 50.
Really?
I can't explain why. There is they don't have a snack program tied to 4K, and 4K is a different menu set up even for regular meals and that. So there is a special, they did say that we would have the option of joining a special milk program that they have. So we could provide milk to those who qualify for free or reduced lunch, but we wouldn't be able to do anything snack wise. So
what would it cost us then, Kev, if we had to take the cost of that to be able to feed those babies, to be able to give them something? What do you think? Could you guesstimate what the cost could be?
It would depend on the number. I mean, right now, I guess what I'm encouraging us to do is follow suit with what we have done in the past, which is that the district always buys some snacks to have available for students who don't come with something, but still encouraging parents and families to provide the snack. In those rare instances that where students don't have something, we do have something available. They don't go really hungry or anything. But again, with the schedule of when the snacks happen versus the rest of the meal program, it doesn't really work to do the breakfast or lunch thing really conveniently. And so I think, I wasn't able to connect with Ms. Vandenboom, one of our longtime 4K teacher, but I know her pretty well that I feel like if there had been an issue where this was a recurring thing where we had a lot of kids that were going hungry, I think we would have known about it. So I think we do have, like I said, we have small amounts of food available. The district does pay. That's obviously a Fund 10 expense, and I certainly encourage us to continue to do that, but not necessarily do a thing where we're committing to paying for every single snack for the entire school year for all families, regardless of need. Because again, that's going to be an entire Fund 10 thing, and in future years where budgets are going to get tighter, I don't know that we want to introduce something like that new now, where when something that for years we've never had to address it.
Okay, cool. Well, continue to maybe have a discussion with Ms. Vanderbilt just to make sure or whatever and stuff, because one of the things I would always hate to have happen is we got those babies in K4 and not have anything and stuff. So just want to ensure that we are looking out for our youngest. Okay, thank you.
That's the extent of my report.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clemmy. All right, item number 2 was approval of new hires, and we have none. What about C?
No new hires and no resignations.
All right, I'd like to second. I really like C. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clemmy. All right, let's go to number 3, our engaged learners. Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Dr. Glass is on with us.
Oh, let's see.
Dr. Glass.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Beto and members of the board. You've received the executive summary for the Learning Without Tears, formerly known as Handwriting Without Tears. The purpose of this purchase is to provide handwriting instructions to our primary grades while providing support with letter recognition, spelling, and writing fluency. Right now, we are not meeting our Wisconsin State writing standards for K4, K5, and first grade. This purchase will meet that need and empower our students to be better readers and writers. Within the executive summary, you have the quotes for 6 years at $45,000, $45,393.56, which is approximately $15,000 per grade level over a 6-year period. Broken down per grade level annually, that'll be about $2,521. Do you have any questions about the executive summary that has been prepared for you at this time?
Only question is implementation of the program. Our base teachers are going to conduct this program, or is this going to be specialty teachers or anything?
No, sir. This program is a curriculum that will be adopted for grade level teachers, K4, K5, and first grade.
Is the professional development included in this quote?
Yes, sir. Within this quote, it includes the hands-on manipulatives, the classroom materials, teacher kits, and PD and training.
Okay. All right, just wanted to double check with that one.
Yeah, certainly so.
Dr. Glass,
Oh, you go.
Dr. Glass, is this a new writing standard? I'm just curious as to why we were not meeting it. Did we elect not to instruct in that, or is this a new, is this a new standard for that age group?
I think she was just asking, is this a new state standard, or is this a state standard that was in the past and we just didn't address it?
Director
That's
Smith,
correct.
Director Smith and members of the board, the Wisconsin writing standard has been in place since my hire in January. I have been auditing different curriculums, working with former literacy specialist, Dr. Gray, and we found that this was a deficit in the current curriculum that we have. And so we're just choosing not to use patchwork, but to give them research-based curriculum.
It's not that it was not being addressed. It was teachers were doing it by grade level in terms of implementation. So the curriculum helps systematize everyone using a research-based resource in our school district.
So teachers were doing it by grade level, but not to the point that they were meeting the standard. They were doing it, is what you're saying?
I think they were meeting.
Oh, no, I was just going with her word. She said we're not, I know in the K3, K4, K5.
We've always used our standards to help drive the work. All I'm saying is teachers had autonomy at grade levels in terms of how they were going to implement. So it's not that it has not been addressed. It was a curriculum was not in place. So now a curriculum will be in place.
I'm wondering if having if it was being addressed prior to this, I'm wondering if it was determined that, but you're saying that teachers that they were instructing in it. So if they're instructing in it and we've not met the standard, did we just determine that, I mean, they may have hodgepodged it together and still met a standard, so that we determined that the best way to make the standard is to get a new program?
That's probably what, yes.
Because when you're saying they were doing it.
They were doing it.
But they were not meeting the standard in their efforts.
I wouldn't say they weren't. Some were
Oh,
meeting.
no, I mean, we didn't, I thought she said we didn't meet the standard.
We've always used the standards to help drive our work. And in some instances, students were meeting the standards. I mean, you have a tiered approach to the conversation, to the instruction, right?
Right.
So we have students who were meeting the standards. We have students who were not meeting the standards. That's in every.
I mean, but when she looked at overall, as far as our score, she determined we weren't. That's what she opened with. Dr. Glass. So I was just wondering. That's what I was at. I just would hate to think, okay, this is fine. We will use this program and meet the standard.
I think the fact that it's research-based is what's key in this from the standpoint as far as the curriculum is concerned.
Kevin?
Oh, Ms. Speaker.
I would further,
You have another
I would-
question?
I would further that,
Would have been
the-
something a principal.
Hold on. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith, I think Dr. Glass is trying to give us some explanation. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dr.
Right.
Glass, go ahead and finish your explanation.
I just wanted to clarify, this current, the curriculum that we're using now does not go over verbal paths for students. So it has a deficit in that when students are learning like their letters verbally, there is no handwriting that would assist with that verbal path. So as they are, let's just say, studying the letter L, there's not a print or manipulative factor for that. And so in order for them to transition into literacy and language, all of those components work in concert. So that is the main reason behind this purchase.
For doing that audit.
Peterson?
I just wanted to ask Kevin, have these dollars been included in the current budget, or is there room for these dollars in the budget?
Yes, there is room. We're working, and just knowing where we're headed in future years, we are trying to front load a little bit on the curriculum side.
That's what I was hoping you.
We get things taken care of this year.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. With that being said, board members, any other questions for Dr. Glass in relationship to this program?
That's my question, so.
With that being said, would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to purchase the Learning Without Tears curriculum for 6 years in the amount of $45,393.56.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second Dr. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I just have a quick question in terms of when we're talking about for 6 years, is it 45,000 for every year for 6
No.
years? Or is it what is the 6 years?
It's on page 2 of the.
Director Daniels,
Yes.
the overall cost for 6 years is $45,393.56. On average per grade level, that's about $2,521 per year. Over,
That cost is inclusive,
Right.
6 years.
And if
Got
we
it.
break it out.
Okay,
even
got it,
further
okay.
For you, that first year, the cost collectively is $24,757. And then each of the second through 6 years, it's $4,100. Yeah.
All right. Any other further questions? I ain't hearing seeing none. All in favor, raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? You can see none. Motion carries 6-0. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Glass, and we'll be looking forward to the results from that being shared with the board next year. All right.
Thank you,
very
Director
much.
Vito.
All right. All right, let's go on to item B, approval of the 23-24 student handbooks.
Yes, the handbooks were uploaded to Boardbook, and this is, we've included a few updates regarding some of the policies that have come forth. So the recommendation from Richard Zeman, our Neola policy consultant, was to add some of those policies that are most relevant to our parents, they need to know, to include that information in the student student parent handbooks. And if you have any additional questions, Mr. Young, well, middle school and Miss Brown, high school principals are here to speak. So if you have some questions, feel free to ask.
Actually, I only had, so I make sure I wasn't, that, the honor roll for section 2, number 2 or whatever, for academics, the honor roll, or whatever it is, students that achieve a 3.5 to 4 would be high honors. I know that we're doing, AP class and stuff, so the weight is a little bit different. So for all intents and purposes, we could have kids with 4.2 or 4.3 or whatever. Are we going to have another category outside of high honors for students that end up over that 4 threshold?
Our current grading scale already includes over 4 point. It goes all the way up to 4.333, I believe.
Mhm.
And if we wanted to make 2 different scales, we would have to present it to the board to change the policy. Because right now it's already weighted, it's already taken into consideration. So we don't have to change the grading scale, it's just weighted differently.
Right. No, I was looking at it from the standpoint of, we've got those students from 3.5 to 4 with the high honors. If we had students that were above that 4, from that 4 to our 4.333 or whatever that may be, could we have another categorical area for that instead of like high honor that could just be like excellence or something like that? It would just, to me, it's just maybe another thing for academic excellence for our students to potentially look forward to and or do. Because if I'm in AP classes, I get all A's in AP, I get high honors just like anyone that might not have been in high honor classes or whatever have you with that weight. So I would want, something or whatever have you to be able to recognize those students for that achievement as well too and stuff, so again, it's just one of those things, don't want to reinvent the wheel or whatever and stuff, but I think as a student and or a parent, I would love for my student to be recognized, especially if they're doing all AP classes and they've got that over 4 point, that, hey, they are, it's excellence or whatever you guys would think of or whatever to be able to do that between middle school really doesn't have that, but the more the high school, there's something we may potentially be able to do.
Yes, we could definitely have that discussion. I mean, we want to honor them in ceremonies. I don't think it would take too much to add a category over.
Okay. Yeah. And then my second question was in relationship to the schedule piece. I was just looking at that, the schedule for, I think this has got to be for the high school or whatever. So during that lunchtime or whatever, that 11:05 to 11:52 or 11:05 to 12:30, there's no homeroom options. So has that always been there? Has that always been like that?
We have not had homeroom for 1 school year since I've been there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because when because with the block schedules and everything else like that, you've got 3A has the lunch, 3B has lunch, 3C has lunch, but then they don't have that homeroom option. So I didn't know if there was something that we were doing with those students to where they could have, if there was an option available to. So
If they're at lunch, then it's backed up to a class.
Mhm.
So either you go to lunch first and then you have class, or you're doing class, lunch, and then you go back to that class,
Mhm.
or you have lunch first and then class. There's no homeroom right now in high school unless you look at the master schedule, and then if we call homeroom, we have an adjusted schedule for that day.
okay, all right,
But we no longer have like FIP at high school anymore.
okay, and that ended last year.
Yes.
Okay, all right, and those were the 2 questions I actually had when I looked at this. Board members, did you guys have any other questions in relationship to the handbooks? I know we kind of got them and, there's a lot of information to be able to process and be able to go through. And I'm quite sure, there may be some questions that may be there or whatever. And so if you do have any, or if you want to ask us, we got the principals online.
There was one thing that popped out in the elementary one where it talks about Kiel. And it references the 22-23 school year.
We're not partnering with Kiel this year.
We're not.
Didn't last year either, right?
No, we had Kiel last year. We had Kiel last year.
We had one family who still remained because of being immune compromised still. But other than that, we don't have.
So are you taking that section completely out then?
Yeah.
Okay, so and all of them then.
Yes, it needs to come out there.
Okay.
I forgot, why you eliminated HIP. Brown. Where we adding that?
Well, HIP originally was supposed to be a time where students could do various things. There could have been like a club that they could have been involved with. It was a time where you could do extra homework, and it was really like a loosey kind of time in the, for lack of better words, the schedule. Because HIP is not a time that teachers had to provide instruction. HIP was a time that was assigned as a duty, which means that teachers don't have to plan for that time. They just have to monitor students. For me, it was a loss of instructional time. And so we took away the HIP period and we increased the amount of instructional time being given to students where they were actually being instructed by a classroom teacher.
And do we have homerooms? Not homerooms, study halls.
We have study halls for upper level students. And then this year we added 9th grade guided study for 9th grade students who need additional study time during the school day.
And all 9th graders will get that. Even if they.
No, all 9th graders were offered. Some 9th grade students elected
Okay.
not to take the course. The 9th grade guided study, we're not making all 9th graders. It was a family decision. If they wanted their child to have 9th grade guided study, if they do not want 9th grade guided study, thankful for the grant, we still have Monday through Friday after school homework and tutoring at the high school.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All right, would someone like to be able to make a motion? And this actually, now, are we, or do we need to have the school year? Because we're approving this handbook for the 23-24 school year. So we need to add, that needs to be added on to just make sure whoever makes the motion, because this is just for this academic year getting ready to come up. So put it in there for the 23-24 school year. And I think that with that being said, we can make it all one. It can be all one motion. Just go ahead and just, when you get ready to read it, just approving the handbooks for the elementary, middle, and high school.
With the recommended change.
Right, with recommended changes. All right, would someone like to make a motion?
Dr. Peter, I will make a motion to approve the Brown Deer Elementary School, the Brown Deer Middle School, and the Brown Deer High School Family/Student Handbook as presented with recommended changes for the 2023-24.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. We have a second. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Second, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries 6-0. High school principals, you now have your approval of your student handbooks, student and parent handbooks. All right, let's go on to our next item. Item C, approval of the high school cell phone policy.
Last Friday, at the board retreat, before you have, there was one recommendation that was made to add the word personal to the flyers. So you have two flyers in front of you, one with the word personal and one without the word personal. What Ms. Brown and I discussed is we could not remember what the justification was for including the word personal. Why were we saying, that was a recommendation that came from the board, but we couldn't remember the why.
It was because of if you talk about this, there's no iPads, there's no laptops, there's no tablets. That would mean that anything, even if the school provided it, you wouldn't be able to use it because that's what it says. So that's another reason why we said any of your personal things, then you wouldn't be able to use those.
Well, that.
And that and-
also rolled it out because personal was there for one
Yes.
thing, but
It
it
was
wasn't there
for
for all the
Right.
things. So it's like referencing personal, are we referencing any devices, including school? So that's where it came in, was like either have it for all or have it for none.
Right.
And we were saying for all, we envisioned, because it has said no personal phones, we thought it would turn around and say no personal iPads, no personal laptops, no personal tablets, as opposed to up in the heading, but I don't know that it matters either way. But that's why, that's how it came about.
Yeah, I would just keep it. I mean, it's not cost us anything to have personal in there, and you're covering yourself, so.
Right.
And we're adding personal, I see we made
Yes.
personal.
So it'd be the second one,
Yeah.
it would be the second one that you provided for us. Or it was the first, I don't know which one came, it'd be the second one.
Good person. Have it on.
Personal and it's not.
Yeah.
Or you could just say no personal and then list phones, iPads, laptops, tablets. You can do it either way.
Yeah, if we just leave it like this, I think it works.
Which one?
This one, right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that second one. Right.
Put it on
We
there.
do have a-
Oh,
Put it on there.
For phones, it's not.
missed that one. Yeah, well, that first one would have to go on there too. Okay.
And can I just ask a question, and I probably should have asked this on Friday, but is this flyer a tad misleading, because they can have it, if I'm remembering correctly, at certain times?
So there's a statement at the below.
And that was recently added because I thought about that as well, and I was like, I should put on here when it is permissible. So at the bottom, they can have it before and after school, during period transitions in the hallway, and during lunch. But
Hold on, because there's also something here still misleading, because they can't have it, they just can't use it.
Okay.
they're able to
You're
use
right.
it before school, after school. They're able to use it in the hallway during their transition time, and they're able to use it, have it physically out during lunchtime.
Right,
So-
but when we discussed it, you mentioned that they can have it on them in class. They just can't use it.
They can't have it.
So if it doesn't specify use,
Right.
then that makes it seem like I have to have it in my locker.
Immediately when you
Just thinking,
see
if you're coming from middle school and it says that, I know in middle school it's gotta be in my locker.
Maybe it should say no use of personal. Yeah.
All this stuff during class time.
Because there's too much text
Right.
at the bottom of it too, but yeah.
And then also the small print, it's like we were doing a contract, you got to read the small print.
Communication device.
You know what I mean? So,
That I just leave it as school administrator, since you said that when you told the teachers that this is something that would be happening, that they would not ever have to be in that struggle. And I left understanding that it would be solely a school administrator, so not a safety that you sent or a teacher that you're like on the phone, well, I can't get down there today, can you just take it? Because I don't know, safety problem, or maybe school administrator or safety. But I would prefer to not have or their designee. If teachers are thinking, no, I will never have to get in this. This, I'm not, which will help teachers to be more following along with what you're doing.
I think it's appropriate to have designee, only because the principal may not always be in the building.
Right, but an administrator, that's why I thought maybe principal was.
Well, sometimes both administrators are out.
But I think that this is gonna work. If the difficulty you said with having teachers comply, it's like, some teachers were doing it, some teachers weren't. If I were a teacher and I know that I'm never gonna have to be, I can tell you to put it away, then I just get somebody else. Or I'm assured that it's someone else's job to do this. I can continue my teaching. I don't even have to worry about, maybe I'll just let them play on it because I don't feel like confronting. So that's why I would not put or designate. I would be very specific about who you can designate to have those conversations with children when confiscating property.
So that's a training piece for the staff. But as far as a student knows, it can be a designee. Whoever administration determines that designee to be, that's on them,
Okay, well, then it doesn't belong here.
or designee.
It does say.
Well, you said if it's a training piece,
It's a training piece for the staff to understand that it will be an administrator. But you don't have to get into those details.
whoever
Yeah,
asked for it, so the teacher will just be, yeah, okay, their fears will be assuaged, which is knowing that I will never be asked. I just wouldn't want us to put it on paper and we decide, yeah, we're in, you know, no one's on site, okay, just tell the teacher to take it. I would never
No.
want that.
That's not the intent.
No, I know it's not the intent. I just know how when things go and everybody has to be somewhere else, should that teacher do it?
It's not going to fall on the classroom teacher.
Ah.
If administrators, for whatever reason, are both out of the building, then we do have someone step up, but sometimes it is another administrator. Like Carol may take over for me, or Mr. Gregory may.
I was thinking, that's why it says.
SEL does facilitate your SEL may also, and then we may have a safety that would also go to a classroom and then take them to someone, so.
I understand what you're saying. Well, I'm gonna say this and then be done with my question regarding, I don't want any sort of kerfuffle coming back where we have to look at suspending someone because it was put on the teacher back to do it. So I'm gonna trust that you all will not, I don't ever wanna hear that, oh, the child wouldn't give the teacher the phone and they tussled over. So I don't want that to ever come up here. Let's suspend this child. This is something that we did, no disciplinary action for that. Because on a day you're not there and a day chair is not there, someone says, well, you know what? You're not supposed to take it, but go ahead and take it. Then that child doesn't let you take it. And then you bring that child and the parents here, then you were supposed to take it. And we'll say, hey, one of you all was supposed to do things.
And that's a very good point, but I want to make sure that we all understand, like, I'm not getting in arguments with kids either over a phone because, you know,
Right.
it's a device. So ultimately, if they're not going to comply, that means that other consequences will happen. I'm not tussling with a student to take a phone either. Another thing that I think is really important is that you have the flyer portion, but I also have a written procedural steps of how teachers will implement this policy. And on there, it clearly states, and it is bolded, that you are not responsible for taking any cell phones or assigning any consequences. That is not part of your direction or statements or anything to students. You are simply, and then it's listed at the above, who they call. If you're in this department, you call this person and so forth. So it's clearly outlined exactly what teachers' responsibilities are, what administrators' responsibilities are, and what student responsibilities are.
And that's in here.
That is not, because that is a teacher document and I didn't know that you wanted that.
We know I didn't want it, but if you could send something that says, you know, I know it's not something that you widely market, but who, so that we know, who will the principal ask? Because, you know, your SELs, you know, have the training, I don't know. You know, who will, what is the end of where who will decide what adult?
So, and then with that or whatever, so you're gonna go through that, it'll also be part of parent orientation. Student orientation, letting them know that this is new policy and everything else like that, and you'll handle that with the teachers and the staff and let them know what that new policy, if we adopt this, that's what's gonna happen, correct?
I'm also
Cool, and then Ms. Peterson had a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious. We did adopt the handbooks.
That should be part of the handbook.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It is in there.
It is already in there.
Well,
It's in there.
But it'll be in here and stuff with, or whatever the change piece
Right.
or whatever.
And my second question is, are these flyers, are these going to just be handed out at orientation or whatever, or will they be
Throughout the building.
throughout the building?
They're going to be up throughout, well, they're going to be in every single classroom space.
Okay,
We have TVs in our hallway, so it's going to be up on our TV monitors.
great.
It's also going to be in our newsletter, and then it's also going to be forwarded not only to parents, but also to the student body. And every opportunity I get on the morning announcements, any parent meetings I have, this is going to be a topic of discussion every time we're in front of someone.
And I'm also having parent meetings on orientation nights, one in each building, and the information will be shared there as well.
Ms. Daniels, you had a,
I was just gonna ask, in terms of, as you all know, when we implement the policy, implement the policy, you can't just say it once, that it has to be given and all. It's gotta be expressed
Put on the
in
bill.
different ways through a number of different vehicles and consistently, not just the first semester, but throughout the entire school year. So people will understand that you are taking this particular policy very, very seriously, and that it is consistently, I know the word enforcement is a little strong, but for lack of a better word, enforced.
Can someone instruct me where it is in the handbook?
It's on page 32 in the high school.
Yeah, it's under personal community, it's under.
Personal communication devices.
Oh, because I was like, it's not under technology. What is it under? Okay. I just wanted to see what it looked like written out.
So it is missing the little fine personal communication device.
right, see, that's the part where,
It's missing that.
And I'm just wondering
It's
if,
on page
and
32.
this is just my thoughts. Do we really need the consequences on what's going to be hung up? Are they really going to take the time to read all the fine print? Or should it also make broader or larger when they are allowed to use it? So that they have a clear understanding on when it's not supposed to be taken out. And because me saying this, looking at it from a high school student's perspective, this says no phones. We can't have any phones. And that's not truly the case. They can bring them to school. They can have them in their pocket. They can only use them at certain times during the school day. And so rather than have the consequences on what's going to be posted all around, with 9 probably out of 10 of the students not really reading all of that, just honing in on, we can't have this stuff. Is there another way that this, and I apologize for not bringing this up on Friday, but is there another way that we can design this that they understand all that I just said a few seconds ago?
excellent, Ms. Peterson, because you know, what if it was to be like this, around the high school, personal communication device, like, where it's got the personal communication devices, there'd be no personal communication during class time.
Right, or whatever.
Would that make it a little bit easier, just be no personal communication devices during class?
You start forgetting that the teachers are going to be explaining this policy in each of the classes.
No,
And during,
that's another reason not to have it on there.
It's very
If
wordy.
teachers have explained it.
Well,
I mean, and I'm not saying don't have it on there. You can have some with it on there, some that's just plain with the when you can use it.
I would just say, as long as you turn around and you're letting the parents and the students, they all know that, hey, you cannot use your phones or these communication devices during class time, period, point blank. And you can have all the rest of this on here, but as long as everybody knows and they understand that they can't do it. And then I think that would be part of the onboarding orientation piece or whatever. And then, you can have, of course, you still have your signs and stuff up, but if we've gone over this and we've gone over it, and then, we reiterated it again, that this is kind of what it is, then it should work.
young people only hear every other word, and they only see what they want to see.
Absolutely.
If I only
Exactly.
put, and I make it too inclusive and try to make it friendly, then they will only see those portions. If it's approached as, this is not what we're doing, and that message is more consistent than the times that you can, then I'm more likely for them to understand that more likely than not, you're not on your phones than the times that you are. Because that's just how young people are. They be like, well, what, I'm not there. I have one foot in the door, but not the other foot. You know, it's just young people. That's just what they do. They try to find any old gap.
Gotta find a loophole.
Yeah, so I definitely get what you are saying. I can definitely make more than one poster, but I wanted the consequences on here because these consequences are going to be needed for not only students, but to the parents. Because the parents are going to have to support the consequences, and then they're going to have to work with their children at understanding the consequences. So I wanted them to know that these two go together. There's no separate pieces of this. This is all together.
Then I think if you don't say if you don't make it more pronounced of when it can be used or that it's not during classroom time, this is going to cause more questions than it has to. If you're very clear, you wipe all that out, you wipe out all the doubt, and you're very clear on this is what it is and this is what it is.
Yeah, no personal communication devices during class time.
Usage during.
I mean, I can add.
I was at a bowling tournament this weekend and I talked to several parents from all different school districts. There was not one school district that allowed phones. So, I mean, all of this to me is semantics. We need this policy. It is just a formality. So whatever the wording needs to be, let's agree on it right now tonight so we can vote on it. And if it's adding that simple line, let's make it happen.
Oh, I don't think anybody's arguing whether or not it's needed.
Work them in the class.
We just want it to be clear so that there aren't questions or issues.
I think this is.
Over it.
That it
Personally,
doesn't
but-
pose a whole lot of other issues for administration or the teachers
Right.
because it.
I think that Dr. Brown has outlined everything. I mean,
I'm with Lisa.
sorry. Mrs. Brown has outlined everything appropriately.
Yeah, I think
it's outlined.
Where?
Yeah.
Right.
It's at the bottom, but believe me, that part is going to be said to the kids.
Right.
That's the only, yeah, they're gonna hear it in every class they go to. That's the only part that the kids are going to hear anyway.
That's the reason why I said, as long as you do it during orientation, when you do it, as long as you do it during parent orientation, you let the parents know, you do it during onboarding with the students, all the rest of it, you know what, they've heard it, they know it,
you
and we're done with it.
about it when they come home from school.
Yeah.
When the first day is.
And the reason-
I already dropped it on my soon-to-be 11th grader who said, are you kidding me? And I said, it's good to know now, so you have a month to go come to grapple with I
it.
like this, but I like if it's during class.
Right. So that was the only thing. I think we've said is either you got to make sure it's like during class time, up on the top or whatever have you. And then I think otherwise we should be good. All right.
Yeah, and I only make that distinction because that was a point of having that security piece of knowing they can still have it with them, but then also because the policy is not the same for the middle school. So wanting to be very clear on the distinctions since they're there.
Let's say you young people are going to say, okay, so if I'm on a field trip, is it okay? I'm sorry, but I just deal with them all the time. They are very creative in trying to find a way.
So then you just bring up another point. Can they not use it on a field trip?
Because that's instructional.
It's instructional time.
It's class time. It's class time. So
When you go on a field trip, that's an extension of classroom.
Which is why, again, though, the distinction is important because then, again, you don't end up with all the questions if it's clearly stated.
So yeah, so let's just stick with the during class time and leave it alone. You know what, Ms. Brown, you will handle all those extra things that may come through. If I got one toe in and one toe out, we will leave that to you. All right.
It's really important.
Yeah. So that's why I said we make sure it's during parent orientation. It's there. They understand it. They know it. And then we can just move forward with it. So the parents know, students know, reinforced, and then we can go. So with that being said, with the additional changes of being able to put that in there during class time, more up on the top rather than the small print on the bottom, would somebody like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the high school personal communication devices policy with the one change as presented.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Walker. Motion's been made. We have a second. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Daniels, Ashley. All right, any other discussion?
Like, I agree with you.
Yeah.
We had a group of adults today who couldn't have their cell phone all day, and it was almost a problem.
All right. All right, so with that being said, all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? You can see that motion carries 6-0. Let's go on to our item number 4, engage innovative staff. Dr. Kelsey Brown, would that be you?
Yes, it should be very quick. Before you have, hard copies of the schedule for, new teacher week, which begins next week, August 14th. You see these pretty, gift boxes back here for our, ready to go for our staff members, or for our new staff members. The welcome breakfast from 8 to 8:30. And then we'll start with opening remarks, with Dr. Vito at 8:30. So I thought it would be a great idea to just print them out for you. So if you want to, refer to them, I also sent it to you electronically as well. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Board members, I will say this, it actually is, it's a really cool time to be there and stuff with all the, the teachers and all the rest of that different stuff on that Monday or whatever. So if you don't have to be at work or you have a little bit of free time first thing in the morning, please come. And then we'll definitely introduce any board members that are present or whatever and stuff. Because I think teachers, they'd like to see who the board are and the board are there supporting. So if you can, please come, get a little bit of breakfast or whatever have you before you on your drive to your job, if you can do it.
You're talking about breakfast, I'd love to show up.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what, like again, everything that's going on during this week or whatever have you, board members, if you do have the opportunity or the option to be able to come, please do so.
And don't forget about the community food trucks. We have that.
Wasn't that for that third? Was that Thursday? Was that
29th, August 29th, from 11:30 to 1:30 out here in the Novak Family Field House parking lot. So you're able to come by, and just an additional note for parent, open house on Wednesday, August 30th. You'll note there, those are the individual meetings I'll be having with parents. Elementary school parents is 4 o'clock, middle school is 5, and high school is 6 o'clock.
Where's that one at?
Wednesday, August 30th.
Okay, oh, I see, okay, I'm on my page.
Sorry.
What event is that on?
Superintendent parent meeting.
You invited, are they specific parents or you just?
Everybody,
All parents.
whoever wants to.
So it looks like it's like school.
Yeah.
So we'll be reiterating all of our summer activities.
Okay. Cool. Oh,
That's A and B.
okay. Board members, any questions in relationship to welcome back staff and or parents orientation?
Didn't summer go fast?
Wow, so it's next week.
All right, let's go on to our item number 5. Engage board and community lead, discussion of the 23 through 28 strategic plan key performance indicators, KPI. So Dr. Kelsey Brown and Dr. Glass.
That would be me. And so this was uploaded to Boardwalk Live Friday. Ms. Robinson, we do have your addition, like your recommendation from last Friday about the weighted information. In addition, you also have the mission, vision, and values, the exercise that we all engaged in, or you all engaged in on Friday. So Donna has included that document as a markup or draft, if you will, for this evening. And the hope is that some decisions can be made around how we would like to proceed with the mission, vision, and values.
I just had a quick question about this. The first day that we started with Ted, we all said a word, and I remember Elevate was in there, and he wrote something on this board, and it was like 2 sentences, and it had all those words that we like picked out. Do you remember that? Does anybody, and I remember you picked elevated because you were very happy. And it had- Yeah, it had.
Because I said elevated, you were gonna use it.
It's that, where are those sentences in any of this? I looked through everything and I could not find it anywhere. And I thought that was like something like our starting point.
Wait a minute, I might have it on, I might have a picture of it.
Wasn't that? Yeah, we were in here.
Spanish, but
We were all saying words and we all had thrown out like a bunch of words and he came up and did bing, bang, boom. And it had, I thought it was really good. And you were just like, oh, I love that word elevated. It just whatever,
and then
that fit the sentence. And then I wondered what happened to that?
Mission discussion.
Because I thought that was like our starting point for our new like statement. And here, yeah, our new mission, yeah.
With Ted?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were right here and he wrote it here. And then the only reason I remember that part is because I used the word elevate and then Stacy was upset because I used her word. Well, you were just funny.
Good the way he wrote it and I just didn't see it in anything that I had
Is
looked
it in
through.
minutes in
I'm looking to see if I took a picture.
I don't know. I just wonder what happened to that.
Because I remember we
I
did,
was reviewing all this and I went through it several times and I did not find
I
it.
remember we did the board one with Ted over there during the retreat last year.
that's what I thought.
I know that we did the one in this room with Ted when you all were online. I'm not remembering one this board.
But I think we were in this.
They're right here. They're right here.
I thought we were right here when we did that.
Oh,
Right there.
Both of you all are right. It happened in the North Commons. And then he did it right there.
What time, when?
I don't
I
know.
know it was one of his first visits. So I was just wondering because I thought those words were really good. And like I said, I just didn't see it in any of this wording and paperwork that we had.
Yeah, I didn't take a screenshot of that one.
I'm just trying to go back through because usually I don't write the stuff down. I just take a picture of it.
Right.
I'm just trying to look and see. And if it's not right about here, then I don't have it. I don't have it. Maybe we were just having a general conversation, but I just remember that part of it. But since we don't have it and we can't find it, we've got to go with where we're at right now.
Oh, I know. I don't want to make any delays, but I just was wondering. Start this process like spring. You have to be up.
Did you find it on yours, Dee? No, I can't, it's not on mine, so I don't know what, like I said, I usually take pictures of that stuff. But if not, okay, so let's look at what we've got right now that's on here. And for vision, it says, provide an innovative education that prepares our students to lead the world perfectly as defined by strategic planning.
So, you know what? So you did that when I read it the second time. I was like, I would like the two back in there.
I said the same thing today.
I read it, when I read it last night, I was like, I don't know. And I tried to read it in the context that we were trying to capture here last week. It's just like,
So that you make it more active.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So add to.
Yeah, put it back.
Yeah, it's two. And I don't like to, okay, and then see, students to lead the world. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I don't, and then in parentheses though, we've got perfect as defined by strategic plan.
Yeah, so I thought that meant that it's gonna still be adjusted.
Yeah, we still got to turn around and we're gonna have to look at this or whatever and try to figure it out and how does it work? Because to me, that just seems so, I don't want to use the word generic, but
Yeah, but
Like, okay, what exactly does that mean? What exactly does it really mean? Provide an innovative education that prepares our students.
What to say?
yeah, I wish we could have found the vision because I agree with lead the world. Not,
It just seems so.
esoteric.
Yeah,
King of the world, right?
you know.
But also,
To be a leader in their.
Like
community, to be
innovative.
a leader.
at all, I don't
Yeah,
want to.
I thought the same thing about that as well, looking at, and
You're strong,
I said
Someone
to
suggested
provide.
innovative, but then was thinking, well, maybe we didn't need it because of the value statements having innovation in it.
Okay.
And as I was looking at it earlier, I changed some of the words. I like the to provide the highest performing education that prepares our students to lead something. I don't like the world either.
Donna, do you have the piece, the paper that we were writing, taking notes on, that was on the wall, that were on the things? Could you grab those? There's no way for us to be able to get those and maybe just put them on this whiteboard real quick.
What do we want it to say?
That's the reason.
Prepare our students to achieve their highest potential.
To prepare students to be productive citizens of society.
Are we providing or preparing?
But you said again, prepare.
I said, prepare our students to achieve their highest potential.
Okay, so we have to prepare, so that's good. Our scholars, our students.
We definitely need to have a word that is going to describe how our educational approach, like, like I think we had innovative, because we want to make sure that, our students are going to be what we're going to give them is an innovative education, because we couldn't, I can't remember what the other word was or whatever, but we need to have a word that's going to define what this education looks like.
And one of the things when I look back at the notes from the meeting with Ted on July 17th, remember, we also said that you wanted to
Be able to measure. Yeah.
Vision or measure wish.
We gotta take, what is our definition of the Brown Deer Way? Where is that at?
It's on all the student handbooks. If you have a student handbook, look on the front page of any one of them. It was on there.
What does it say? What does the Brown Deer Way say?
For our education and our actions, we show respect for ourselves, peers, through our words and actions. Our community that accepts and celebrates individual differences. We are honest in all we do. We establish trust and confidence in each other to positive relationship building. This is who we are in Brown Deer School District. And I want to.
Right, because remember, one of the things that we talked about was how does the mission and vision also work with the Brown Deer Way? And we kept saying about, like, remember one of them we said about we'll use the Brown Deer Way is whatever and stuff, but then, so to be able to do that part.
I can't pinpoint anything innovative. Someone came, we were, what's it? We were doing it, we probably are, but if I can't pinpoint it, maybe that's not what we want to say. But I wouldn't sell it on. I just don't think innovative is strong enough. Right. I'm sorry. It's strong word to describe what we provide.
The only thing that for this right here, or whatever have you, should this be the venue right here, right now for us to do this or whatever, because I can see this taking an hour trying to figure this out right now, but I know we've got to have something before. Well, I thought before we said if we were going to do this mission and vision statement, we wanted to have it before, was it October or something like that? Dr. Kelton Brown? Right, because I know initially I was really trying to be really speedy about it and have it before the school year starts. But now it's almost seeming as though, do we need to, something like this is one of those meetings that's not here at this board meeting right now, but something that we would do. I ain't gonna say, well, maybe it might be another retreat because we really need to look at this because like right now, I think that what we'll be trying to do is just trying to find some words to be able to put on there. And then we're rushing through or whatever have you. And this is part of the thing that's going to take us for the next 5 years. This is going to be our mission and our vision for the next 5 years. So I want to be able to give it the thought that it deserves rather than trying to hurry up and push something through.
Well, I would hope that, I agree with you. I would hope that maybe in the interim, we could, like while we're at home, we could kind of think amongst ourselves.
That's fine.
Some that we like, that we could cobble, not cobble, but, you know, that we could put together that would represent.
Right. I would say this.
These are on this, these are on here.
Yes.
These are.
All of this is on here? It's not, well,
No, what's so what's in green is what was,
Okay.
and what's not struck, where there isn't a strike through is what you ultimately agreed upon on Friday.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
yeah. So what I'd like to suggest is I'm going to propose this. All right. That we have one of those days where if individuals, we can have not a retreat, but if everybody can maybe like a 2-hour block of time. And with this one right here, as a president, if we doing it in the morning, I'll pay for breakfast. If it's during lunchtime, I'll pay for lunch.
We deciding on that date.
It's something we could do virtually.
I was getting ready to
It's just
suggest,
like.
why can't we
Friday
just
days.
It's so hard to hear though. When we were virtual, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
See, the virtual, the thing for me though, the virtual, I'm sorry.
No, I just think I thought it was really difficult to hear when I was
you
virtual.
think that they would tell, well, it's different though when some are virtual and some are not.
Right.
If everybody's virtual.
That is true, but.
Only thing I like in the relationship to this is that virtually you're engaged, but maybe not as engaged as we're together. Then it's like, you know what I'm saying? It feels a little bit better, you know what I'm saying? Because we're together trying to put this thing together. If I'm on virtual, I'll be doing like this or whatever have you. And I'll be like, you know, maybe I'm listening, maybe I'm not. And I'm not fully engaged because I'm at home. You know what I mean?
Chances for success will increase if we're in person.
I wonder,
I think so. I think so.
I agree with both. I wonder if there's, you know, like a chalkboard or anywhere prior to our meeting, if we do decide that.
Chalkboard, you mean there, get the record board?
What do they call it? Just a space where as we go, we can just, so that we're not starting from nothing, so that we know that in the interim, we are thinking about it. Just think of one, put it, okay, can we consider this when we come together? So maybe you put 20 up there. Maybe you have a lot of time to do that so that when we come together, maybe we're weeding through some options.
And so I was thinking the same thing, thinking that we could have it in a Google Doc. And then people can add theirs to it. You can see what's there. You can take parts of what's there. So we aren't starting from scratch. But you can add your contribution and then.
Then we get together. Then we can,
That's what.
then when we get together, we can just take the Google Doc and then we can just start putting it together.
Yeah.
Something like that. I guess the only thing for us right now, I know it's getting ready to be close to the beginning of the school year, and we got some people, our parents, and for other people, whatever have you, this is the end right before it happens. So you get ready to try to do some vacation stuff before the school year starts or whatever, or the same thing like with your jobs or whatever. With a Saturday, again, like we did before, like a Saturday morning or something like that, would that work for individuals? Like a Saturday morning, because I hate to do the evening thing or whatever have you right now, something like a Saturday morning or something. Would that work?
Saturday. That would probably be virtual. 'Cause put a link on there. If everybody else wants to come in, that would be great. But I just like that if we're thinking about it in the meantime, because I forgot about it that quick from the other day. I hate when we always sit down and it goes on the agenda and it's cold. It feels cold. It's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be thinking about that. But if we have a place like Director said to throw it. But yeah, try a Saturday if y'all can find it.
But I do like the Google Sheet, like the Google Sheet, like if people are populating and we can see each other's work. Because we could possibly do the work in advance of the meeting.
Right.
We're If we've got ideas.
You might say this the one.
Get it in right here, and then when we get together, we can just be like, look.
Or at least get top 5, okay?
Yeah.
If we get in 35, let's.
So can we do this then? Can we?
I would be cautious though about how you use a Google Doc as a sharing ideas thing. I mean, as long as it's, you know, because that you're.
All right, yeah, that's right.
Careful about it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You know what? Because I think we got the open records thing and everything else like that, because now all of us are,
It's the mission, vision.
yeah,
What's the?
yeah, it is.
Yeah, the same time.
Yeah,
You can't collaborate unless you're public.
right. That is right. That is right. Good shot, thank you.
Yeah, it's not, it's not the tool, it's the fact that you're having conversation.
We're having a conversation about board business and we doing that, so yeah. So I guess we are gonna have to keep it in person.
Right.
But again, but what we can do though, if you have your ideas already when we come to it,
Did we get this virtually? This sheet? Virtually, we have it in a document that we can access? Okay.
all right. So again, so now let's just try to, what would be a Saturday that would work for everyone? And again, now remember, we did say that, you know what, like I said before, I wanted to have it done before the school year started, but you know, since we don't have to rush or whatever, then we want to take our time trying to put this thing together. It doesn't have to happen within the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? And so it could happen in September or something like that or whatever if need be. Because the strategic plan is not going to be finished. So,
Well, the only Saturday for me in September is the 9th and the 23rd.
And I cannot.
Not sorority meeting.
Tonight, hang over.
Yeah, it is.
That's sorority. So the 16th.
That's.
oh, 16th of October. All right, so.
23rd.
Oh, I won't be able to start his birthday the 21st, so I'm out. Hey, I'm out. Okay, hold on, let's look. You know, but you know what? I'm not like that. I could,
Your kids.
I could be, well, you know, it is after 50, you don't care about the birthday part so much. You're like, okay.
Here's another idea. What do y'all think about a Sunday afternoon?
No,
What if?
but I can't do Sunday afternoons. That's like my only time. It's about to be football season.
Was highly important time.
Wait. Hey, the cluster meeting really important was really important. See, so don't do it with me now. Y'all leave me alone.
If I'm out of time.
Exactly. I go football. All right, so let's go. So we said maybe, you said September 23rd?
Yeah.
No, I will be out of town September 23rd.
I think that sounds so far off. Can we just do it during the week then, if we can't make it on a Saturday? I mean, what are we talking about, an hour or two on a weekday? I don't know.
We're talking about this document and the KPIs, because that's not checking.
We were just talking about this.
It shouldn't take 2 hours to do this document.
Yeah.
Not if we-
The mission and vision, it'll take us about an hour to
Yeah,
do the mission and vision. So you want to do the mission and vision and the KPI all at the same time?
yeah. That would be-
So, okay, so we got our regular scheduled board meeting is the 22nd.
Tuesday.
The 29th, possibly.
Are you good in August? I'm saying the 15th.
15th of what?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
I think I am in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and that's the day before I take a trip out of town, so I'll be at work late.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to, because we would have just.
Tuesday the 15th, I'm out of town.
Right.
Still have the community meeting on my calendar for the 17th.
Yeah, that's not there. Yeah, that's
So I got that time.
Oh.
Oh.
Thursday the 17th.
So I'm gone.
I can't do it either.
Another city.
All right, so now we've made it to Tuesday, August 22nd.
We already have a board meeting.
That's our school board meeting.
Yeah. That's why I said it's 29.
Okay, 23rd, I'll leave out of town again, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. What about that, Tuesday, August 29th, because the food truck thing is gonna be here. So what if we did that day? August 29th?
If we do that, then I'll be virtual.
Uh-uh.
Are we talking during the day or in the evening?
In the evening.
You said we didn't have to do it in the next 2 weeks.
Well, no, I mean, but one board member said, you know what, it seems like we're getting so far in the weeds that we want to try to do something. On the 29th, I'm in Chicago Tuesday, on that Tuesday, Thursdays, I'm in Chicago in the mornings.
What about it's an off day, but what about the 28th?
Monday the 28th, a Monday?
Oh, you still would be virtual?
Are you out of town?
Yes, sir. And so the first week in September.
That's the first week of school, September.
Yeah.
The holiday week is already.
Is it?
Beat out like, I don't know, the 31st or the 30th, just welcome back open house.
Well, I know that Thursday, the 31st, I have a board meeting at 5:30 already. That Wednesday.
Evening.
Wednesday, Thursday. What about, oh wait, is Friday the 1st, is that the holiday?
Yes.
Okay, that's out.
There's gonna be a football game already.
Okay. Do we know we playing?
Yeah, I don't have it on written down. It's at Round Deer though. On the first.
All right, so then we got the second, blah, 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 blah. Then, so Tuesday the 5th, is there school on Tuesday the 5th?
They're saying this.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to, what about Tuesday the 5th?
That age group.
Does Tuesday the 5th work?
Tuesday.
Okay, when do you come back? D?
When I could get away and we don't have meetings, I would, that's fine.
Well, I'm understanding that, I'm just saying.
It wouldn't be to that meeting. When we have a meeting,
The 12th.
I carved my tires out specifically between our meetings.
So what about the 11th? To be back in town for September 11th? Yeah. It's a Monday, but. Does that look like?
Monday, September 11th?
Meeting back to back, Monday and then Tuesday for the board meeting.
Nobody likes Monday?
I start work at 7, so it has to be pretty early.
Right.
I'm a little sad, believe it.
Yeah, and then my Monday mornings, I start my day off at 5:30, so it don't work.
I'm willing to give up my 5:30.
So can we look at Monday, September 11th? Yeah, it's 9/11. All right, so maybe the Monday the 11th, can we do maybe a quick 5:30?
Don't do it in the evening, it's gotta be 6. It works better for my schedule.
Okay, can we do that maybe that Monday from 6 to 7:30 or 6 to 8?
On the Air Foundation that night. So I thought there would be an Air Foundation meeting this past Monday. Oh, they scheduled it for. This is upcoming Monday, it's the second. Because it's still that off, right, but it's still kind of the off season. That's why, yeah. So to answer your question. It wouldn't be the first Monday in September because of the holiday. Got it, yep. So it's in this room, which is why.
So Monday the 11th is the Ed Foundation?
Yes. Unless we meet in a different space, and then I would miss the Ed Foundation meeting. So.
Could we, if we did do this, then could we, if the Ed Foundation, how many members in the Ed Foundation?
8 or 9 on a good day.
Could we use this room or use that room or whatever to do what we need to do in the Ed Foundation? Do what they do?
Fit in there.
Well, I'm just saying the Ed Foundation couldn't fit in there.
The Monday meeting, I have a link. Is it because it's still off season, right? It's the planning. Is that their intent to meet personal or just the person?
I think so. So can we tentatively say maybe Monday the 11th and we can figure it out? Spacing?
And everybody pencil it in?
Monday the 11th at 6?
Yes.
That teamwork.
You know.
Monday 11th, at 6. Yep.
It should be in, you can find somewhere, because they can get in one of the principal offices or there's 2 offices.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Or what's to stop us from meeting over in the comments thing in the high school? You know, we got a lot of space around here.
You should be able to accommodate some.
Someplace. All right, so we're gonna put it there tentatively from 6 to 8 on Monday, September 11th, okay? Ms. Ross, can you make sure that you put that in there? All right. Okay, so what we're gonna do then is, ladies and gentlemen, that we'll do, on that day, we'll do the mission, vision, and KPI. Remember, I thought we were gonna be talking about the KPI part as well, too.
Also, are we trying to get to approval?
For KPI? And if we go back through it on the level, we're gonna be talking about, or whatever, we could have it approved eventually at the,
Next step.
maybe not because that one is the planning meeting and stuff. I think if we want to approve that, wouldn't we want to have that as the general meeting on the 20th? I mean, and then that way we don't feel rushed. If we don't get it all the way done, we still got a little bit of time. So if we can turn around potentially and we can have the KPI meeting done on would that be the 26th, 19th, or is it the 26th? Right. Plus it gives us some more time, just in case. So it'd be the 26th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so then if we could do that, then if we look for approval, we can have that, because what it does, it gives us a month and some more time to be able to do this, because the other thing too is this, if we don't have to rush it or whatever have you, and this is gonna be what we're gonna be talking about for the next 5 years, I'd rather take my time with it and get it right.
I agree, but I think everyone should make a concerted effort to come to this meeting ready to go. Because we
Most
no
definitely.
more delays.
Yeah, especially in the evening time too, or whatever, with a special meeting, and we got 2 hours to try to work through this. All right, so good. So we've got that. That is taken care of. So now let's go on to our item B, discussion of reporting data to the Board of Education. So now at our retreat, we talked about all of our different data sources that we use and all the rest of the different things or whatever. I would want to be able to suggest that the board is updated. I don't know whether that would be like, whenever there are we've got major data, things that are happening or whatever, map testing, whatever the testing thing is that it's taken, it's put together or whatever have you, and that information is shared with the board.
As it happens versus waiting.
Yeah, as it happens, rather than turn around and we do one data thing maybe once or twice a year. That way we're always kind of in the know of kind of where we are. And if there's something that we want to be able to have questions for and being able to look at that data.
Or quarterly.
Or quarterly. Well, that all depends. Like some of them, it depends upon what the assessments are. So we had gotten a document right here that said, okay, these are all of our school data. So the access, classroom assessment, you got your CABS, DLM, your FastBridge, your Finest Pinnells, your Wisconsin Forward. That's for the elementary school. And then for the high school, you got some of these same. So all of these different things happen all during the year.
Right.
So, and some of them actually happen multiple times a year. Like, we all know how MAP is and stuff. You take you do it like 3 times or 4 times a year. So, so some of this data, some of these different things that we're looking at should be shared with us as it happens. Of course, I want to give the principals and the teachers enough time to be able to get the data and be able to give us a summary of kind of what we're looking at and everything else like that. But I would like to have that information shared with the board, so then that way we know kind of where we are.
The results of.
The results, yes.
Anything that's shared with us, like the climate data that comes, anything that goes into this report card, I think what we
Needs to be shared.
just this sheet, we would want some, because we go on cycles.
Right.
So we, as a board, we should know, even if you're not going to report all of these for us, we should know on what cycle, so we know when to be expecting a report from it. But one of the things that struck me as that I figured I would have had liked to know was, because principals are pulling data from monthly. They pull it. So it's nothing for them to compile it, get it out, read it. That's what they're trained to do. Spit it out, write the narrative, course correct. Like, and I was a little ashamed that Dr. Glass had to go and do an audit. Whereas if data was being pulled regularly, that would have been something that a school leader would have already alerted Dr. Brown to and alerted the board to. We would already know, hey, It wouldn't be, okay, we're adopting this because we're non-compliant. It would have been, we already know because we've been seeing the data come in on those. But one of the things that struck me as odd, but that I should have, how many high schoolers, that those high schoolers that went to summer school were all, what do you call it, credit recovery. So then that goes to classroom assessments. How and when are those done? I know how they're probably done at the elementary and the middle school, but I was astounded that, we don't spend a lot of money on summer school, high school, but it is a cost. And we found out that it's not enrichment. So, but then I think it was about 93 kids. We would already know that. We would already know, okay, these sophomores we would already know, okay, there's about 17 sophomores that aren't going to make it. We would have known that. So if they're pulling classroom, teachers are assessing kids all the time because most of the stuff is digital. So that's something that I would like to see. The classroom-based assessments in the elementary school that these teachers are taking to these meetings that they have each week with their PLC meetings. Yeah, they can be compiled easily by the data person, because they got to put it in. They have to come to those meetings, sit down and defend their data. I'm hoping that's what's going on. And then course correct and go. So pulling the data and giving it to us, it shouldn't, and then putting a narrative on it regularly. So we never turn around and say there's 93 high schoolers in summer school. And we're the only people that don't know that they're all there for credit recovery. That's just one kernel of what may have happened.
Well, Steve, but that's a good point and stuff. And then the thing too is and the reason why I had this on the agenda is also for us to look at our surveys that we're going to put out and stuff. So when do we put out like the surveys for the parents, and then we've got the surveys for the kids, we got the surveys for the teachers and all the rest of that different stuff. So also have that stuff on cycles as well too, that we're going to have this one to go out to the parents in October. I'm just throwing things, months out there or whatever, or whoever we're getting ready to give that survey to or whatever. But then also being able to do that and being able to share those results back with the board as well too.
I will say that it would be less work if we had committees in those areas. It would be less work on that lead administrator. It would come through a committee. You got a climate committee, it would come through the board. Someone on the board will be on there. That data will flow through. The reason I asked about climate data is because we spend a lot of money taking care of this SEL. And, time and time again, one principal asked for a dean, and I can't remember which one it was, behavior issues, SEL, social emotional learning, psychological safety, all of that. So are we pulling data so that we know that these dollars that we're putting out are, and I hate to beat a dead horse, I don't want to find out, from Strive that Strive did well. I want some data to back up which efforts, that those three positions, I'm sure they're keeping data on what they're doing so that we can see our growth, so we actually have things to celebrate and know, okay, this was money well spent. Because at this point, it's just on trust, and that's just a bad way to operate with regard to money. So that's why I added, but I would like to see climate data, at least quarter. School climate data. What are you all, what issues are you dealing with? And what issues what issues have you eradicated due to your efforts?
And I guess a question I have, thinking about that request as well as thinking about the KPIs from the continuous improvement plan, if I recall correctly, it requires those observations throughout the year to know when we're hitting targets and what needs to be adjusted. So is that already going to be compiled now as a part of this process?
Correct. Right. So we are creating a timeline will actually come alongside of when would be the best time to be able to bring the information forward. So you have obviously an implementation phase. And then when we know and understand that we have enough data to bring to the board, we can do that.
Yes, I think quarterly will probably.
That would be good. I just want us to be a district that is used to collecting, reporting, and processing data, and also, defending your data.
I'm going to say
To ask for more.
to the extent that we can just use this data to inform the decisions that we're making regarding curriculum, regarding maybe even, just disciplinary kinds of things. Yeah, it just makes sense to be able to incorporate just that piece
Yeah.
of just looking at data that. Yeah.
And that
Without the
disciplinary,
assessments that we're doing, to your point, we should be able to kind of pull it.
I have something to share. I just want Dr. Beagle to hear it too, so. but-
that disciplinary piece is a big one as well, because, I'm just thinking like with Officer Olick, like, I have no idea what he does, what types of incidents he might have to intervene with, or what the results of that might be.
Yeah.
So,
You know what? I was told he doesn't keep a daily. I think I asked him, or that it didn't go into any sort of data source.
Got to.
I just ended up in a conversation with him once, just trying to see, where.
It has to, because he has to, that's. So,
I just want to share though, that like, I want to remind you all that you do have access to Wise Dash Local, and you have a board dashboard that has attendance data, discipline data, all your test scores. That is up to date, current to the moment. It updates every night. So if you're looking to, to understand like the demographics or the
Right.
attendance, or, how all of that goes out. And I know you're looking for the story, but I'm also saying though that you have you have access to this data 24/7.
We spoke a little bit about that last year, the data. Did I miss the training? Because you said you were gonna.
We shared
train
the
the
sheet
board
on how to log in with the
on all
login
three
information and everything. You can do that. If
can
that's
you
something.
reshare that, please?
And so but I think that the other thing that we've talked about with Dr. Brown and Dr. Glass is that what we've seen with some exemplars, we pay, so we use Wise Dash Local as kind of our single source of truth, because it pulls from Skyward. And so this is where, this is our data warehouse. And so as we start to go through our strategic plan, once this is finalized with these KPIs, if there are any of those metrics that we can do, one of the things that Wise Dash Local can do is to create those dashboards, those KPI dashboards, so that we can track that. And part of the discussion we've had is to make sure that you've got some clarity in terms of where we're at, is kind of creating those systems. It's all.
I think that's great to have that access, but I think having it presented in as raw, but also in a narrative, gives us a better understanding of when you as an administrative team, or everybody, that just school-wise, are pivoting. So that we can see that you're responsive to the data trends, and or you're shoring up, or that you see that that's happening. And I know that it happens in small teacher circles and meetings with administrators where teachers have to bring their data. They bring their data, but because when we get the scores that we're getting, and it leads us to believe that perhaps there wasn't a pivot, or maybe we can't understand and why our teaching and learning is not bearing the fruit of the effort.
right. So I guess it's almost along the lines of this. Once we get that data and there is like this summary of what it is, if it's working, great. But if it's not, what are going to be the strategies to be able to take that data and be able to increase those scores or something like that as well too. Again, because I'm quite sure you're already going to be talking about in your PLC meetings, at grade level meetings and everything else like that, or whatever have you and stuff. So yeah, so if we can just get those summaries, and again, I don't know what the cycle piece is or when, but I would almost say when you guys know these testings are getting ready to come up, when you're able to get us that data and get that summary part to us, then it'd be added onto the agenda as a data.
We mentioned quarterly.
We can do it. We could be quarterly. It could be whenever. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I don't know exactly when all of these different assessments are taking place or whatever. So they could be quarterly. I mean,
and also we want to look, and I know a lot of times they'll put classroom-based assessments side to side with these high-stakes testing, because some people don't give high-stakes testing a lot of merit, but at least we can look and see, okay, well, this teacher as a teacher, they look at it and say, okay, well, I think this child should perform here. So we can't look at our data and see our test scores are low, but then the classroom-based assessments are high because that teacher is really working and working and working. We really just want to know that you are engaging the students, that you are, giving them what they need, and we cannot see that from the lens that you provided for us currently. So if you have any idea as a, better way to be explicative about that to the board, but this is just something that we would like to know.
So, you know what, I guess probably the easiest thing to do is at the next meeting, if you can let us know when you guys actually do these assessments. That would just make it easier. So that way we know in November, we should be getting results back from Access and FastBridge and Math Benchmark or whatever. We know we don't get stuff back from Wisconsin Forward until May or whatever, however that works or whatever. So if you can put down here when these assessment dates are, because some of them are, you take them 3 times a year, some are 2 times a year, some are 1 time. If you can turn around and do that, and then that way, at least we know, and then you can turn around and give us that information quarterly or whatever. So like maybe the first set that we should have would be in November, whatever. Then we know we should have one in, I don't know, January or something like that. And then there should be another one in March, and you know what I mean? So however that works, if the principals, if you guys can get together along with our data person or whatever, and just come up with the dates when these are happening, you know what I'm saying? This is happening in May, this is what's happening in January, this, whatever, do that. And then we'll just set up something to where we can have that as part of the agenda. We had that data shared.
What is our data?
Yeah, Ms. Rosman. So yeah, so again, like I said, principals and Ms. Rosman get together, put all that info together for us. All right. So that was the reason why I had this on here, because I remember the conversation that we had at our retreat, as well as that last board meeting or whatever. So I just think that this is something important for us to be able to have. Okay. All right. So now let's go on to our next item is Viola policy revisions, second reading. All right, everybody got a chance to take a look at this? Okay. Was there any of these in here?
There were some new ones. There's a couple new ones in there, like curriculum modification.
Yep, the 5250?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one I was getting ready to ask about. I wanted to ask about 5250, and then it was
Patriotic observance. 8802.
yeah. 8802.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about the special observance days.
Would 8800 also fall into that same realm with you guys? So 8800, 8802. I was asking about 5250. And then I want this policy 3215, 4215, now when this says use of tobacco, nicotine and stuff like that. So revised, it says this policy revised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and reference to marijuana and hemp derivatives. But right now, all the kids everybody's doing gummies.
This is in the base.
Yeah.
This
But our new
is
stuff.
Right. I don't care what it is.
well, yeah, that did cross my mind too. Like it says smoking.
Yeah, that was that word smoking and stuff. That's the word they called me. And I'm thinking majority of these kids now, they're doing edibles and there's pills or whatever have you, or some individuals are getting access to those patches and stuff like that or whatever. So should yeah, they got the patches now and stuff. Do you know how people use this stuff to be able to for smoking and nicotine patches and all the rest of that different stuff? They got patches for there's all kind of stuff going on. So with that being said, I was just kind of wondering, yeah, you would never know. They running around like, well, hey, I ain't broken the rule. Y'all said I couldn't smoke. You know, or they running around with the gummies and stuff, just handing them out. Hey, like jelly beans. Here you go.
Well, I hope you walk the other way.
Yes. All right, but now, so again, I wanted to be able to look at that one right there, which is that use of tobacco, nicotine by professional support staff, and this the thing. I would say it's also prohibited smoking and or any. See, again, that it kind of gets a little tricky. Like, okay, I don't smoke, but I can turn around and do the patch. I can, you know, that. But now when we start talking about the derivatives, the hemp and the marijuana and stuff like that, it's like.
Right.
Well,
They can't do it on.
you just gotta say that you just can't do it during school time. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
We would never know
These are
that.
children, right?
No.
no, this is for the adults.
That's no.
We would never know.
Damn, everybody getting AIDS.
Everybody getting shot.
Well,
Should the title of that one change?
change anyway, and that was the other thing too. It should be more than just the
But I think it might be one for, yes, there might,
separate policies.
right, there might be, this may have stuff that got revised or is new,
But why would that be there then?
because it was revised.
So then we should revise the title then.
Well, it
So do
depends
you
on
have
what
the,
revision
do you have,
was.
you have the, policies open?
Or is it just, it's just the attached?
Okay.
And it's whatever's your pleasure. The recommended policies, you know, they go through this legal counsel of individuals.
Right.
So they decide on
Yeah, with that.
topics and the content of it. If you want to change a title of a policy, you can, but
Yeah, you have.
given that it has the legal lens.
Yeah,
The number would be wrong if.
yeah,
if
it's
we
gotta
tried to,
align with
right,
their
align with people.
recommendations, you
Yeah,
know?
just saying.
I don't see a 52.
Active, let's see.
It's for
I am in,
Okay. Okay.
did you find it? I don't see it. I don't have 5250. Mine goes from 5223 to 5310.
You go to ready for board.
Well, you might not see 5250 because it's a new policy. They're creating.
Okay, so this is the draft.
Right.
It's on the draft, right?
Yeah.
It says I don't have access to draft.
You go to, oh, that's a different conversation. But if you can use.
I have an active one, but not the draft.
So here.
We're actually in,
are
we're
you-
logged into our thing, yeah. Policies or whatever.
Authentication as well. Because it says I'm logged in, but
Right. Because we got, all right. Okay, so, all
it got me locked. It says I'm logged.
right, so let's go get away from the one I was just talking about. Let's go to the 5250, the program curricular modification part. Who actually had the question? I know that, Ms. Robinson, you had a question in relationship to 5250. The new policy provides for the process specified by the state statute for program or curriculum modifications for students in circumstances that require more than a routine schedule change.
That wasn't mine.
Somebody had 5250.
I was just pointing out that that was a new policy.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, so I'm looking for something I thought you had a question about it.
No, my question.
82, what is it?
88.
8800 and 8802.
8800 and 8802.
8800, the religious sponsor advisory from the recent U.S. Supreme decisions in Kennedy versus Merton School District.
What school district?
Right, Merton, BREMERTON.
Merton, yeah. I don't know exactly where
Now,
that's at.
there's a policy, title change and the original policy.
You just because we're not entitled.
It's called religious and patriotic ceremonies and observances, and they took out the word patriotic because of the political bend that it can have, using the word.
Trustee Brown, is that the one 8802?
Yep, they took the thing for the flag part and put it in 8802.
Two was 8,800.
8,800, yeah.
They did have the part about the flag in 8800 or whatever, and they moved it over into 8802.
Got it.
So that was the reason why it was something that was new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that.
So they pulled it out of.
Yeah, they pulled it out. They pulled it out of 8800, slapped it down in 8802.
Sorry, pulled out what?
The patriotic piece.
Patriotic piece. And the religious observance stuff. Silence intended to avoid religious task.
So the legal, the case law around this one was a football coach who,
Yes.
said a
Deal.
prayer. So after a football
player.
game, said a prayer on the football field, and I'm not sure who brought forth the lawsuit, but he was not found, well, he was not found guilty because he said that, first of all, he did not invite the players to the prayer. He was out there, he prayed, and then they voluntarily came to pray. But he was found not guilty because the prayer, although it was on the district grounds, on the
mandatory.
football field, it
It's
was not mandatory, and the game was over.
Yeah. This is almost kind of like, well, for everybody here that played sports or whatever, I mean, I know like my old football coaches or whatever have you, after every game or whatever, it was always a prayer or whatever. So all that stuff wouldn't fly unless you wanted to, because we didn't have a choice. It was mandatory. Everybody was involved in that and stuff. So now you can do it as long as you don't make it, it's optional if individuals want to be able to do
Yeah, I
it.
think somebody just took offense who did not believe in prayer, brought it against.
Oh, they
It had nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it made it up to the Supreme Court.
That was just looking at.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Any other questions in relationship to this? Because it was just those two. And again, like I said before, and the other one just kind of really caught my eye in relationship to that tobacco, nicotine, or whatever. Because once they went into the whole thing in relationship to marijuana and hemp, that's no longer just tobacco or nicotine by professional or support staff. Now you're talking about, illegal drugs, or even though should be legal, but even though it's not. So
You said all of these should be under
Legal.
ready for review.
Ready for administrative review.
Administrative.
So I don't know, would that be more of a title revision, like I said before, and unless there is another one in here in relationship to drug use?
Oh, we're going back to that.
Yeah, that 3215, 4215 or whatever, because especially once they went off of the tobacco nicotine part and went into the marijuana and the hemp piece or whatever, and it was all of just about smoking or whatever have you, again, the majority of the people aren't smoking anymore. It's more of the other stuff. So if they'd have left hemp and marijuana out of that, then that policy makes sense. But once they added that in, so that's separate than just regular something that's legal. Now we're talking about stuff that's illegal. Go to Stacy, policy 3215, 4215. The use of tobacco and nicotine by professionals, support staff revised. This policy is revised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended in reference to marijuana and hemp derivatives within the context of smoking. Right? So that means that I can't smoke whatever while I'm on campus or whatever have you, but the law within this policy or whatever, I can have gummies.
So they should have just left it as use,
Yeah.
not within the context.
But not got rid of smoking altogether. Get rid of smoking altogether.
But we really can't do anything because this is the language that's being recommended by this body.
But it's being recommended or whatever have you, but we don't have to approve it.
Okay.
See, because what I don't want to run into, and again, and I hate to get in the weeds, but the other part of my job is the legal pieces or whatever have you. So if you don't tell me, like, so what would our policy be then if somebody person's on staff or whatever have you, they just doing the gummies or whatever have you while they're on clock?
The question then becomes, then what do we already have in our policy that prohibits,
That from occurring.
yeah, smoking, the use of tobacco, that kind of thing.
I know from before, the one that they have in here is there, but again, what they turned around and did was, once they added in hemp and marijuana, that's different than nicotine and tobacco.
I get that. What I'm asking is, the policy that is before us right now, what does the language read? And
Look and see.
3215, you're saying?
yes,
It didn't
It
have
states,
that.
well, it says it shall be a violation of this policy for any professional staff of the district. Use, consume, display, promote, or sell any tobacco products, tobacco industry brand, tobacco-related devices, imitation tobacco products, or electronic smoking or vaping devices regardless of content, including smoking as defined in this policy.
Nowhere.
And then it goes, it says tobacco-related product.
So nowhere in that policy does it say anything about like the edibles and all the rest of that different stuff.
The policy didn't mention marijuana at all before this revision.
Right. That's what only that made me catch it.
I'm not, if people are doing edibles, I don't know.
They fall out.
Perhaps, right, if you're wondering why they fell out.
Like
What can we do? Can we vote on all of them with the?
Down to the exception of that.
Well, down there was.
Like, you know,
Keep you eating on.
No, it should be like that. See, when I fell out.
and then
But now I'm talking about the part that I'm talking about is we add in,
add that in.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Voted in.
That's what Anita said.
Oh.
We can approve all of them except for 50, whatever the number is. 52, yeah. So we can approve all the rest.
But you even go back to them, because something happens while this policy not in play.
Right.
We have
You don't
no
have
protection.
nothing.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, but again, so that one right there, was that revised or was that a new? That's revised. So we can approve it.
Back for a revision later if we so choose, but right now, if we don't approve it, we have no protection.
Can we change the title of it before we approve it? At least that much.
Even if we tried to align it.
Yeah. Are you changing some content though?
I'm saying, can we at least change the title, even if we don't change what the content? Can we change the title?
We should be able to change it. I mean, this is for us to be able to use for whatever we want to be. This is the recommendation. This is the recommendation from the state on the stuff that they have or whatever have, but each individual school district can do what they want.
What's the recommendation from the change in title?
So whether we add controlled substance.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, use of tobacco, nicotine, or controlled substances, any controlled substance by professional or support staff.
Or controlled
Right.
substance.
And then,
Sorry to interrupt. I was distracted by something else I was doing. So I apologize for that.
so you don't,
There is a policy 3122.01, which is drug-free workplace, which covers the board prohibits any member of the district staff from any of the following anytime while or on district property or while performing the duties on a district-related activity or event. Manufacturing, possessing, using, distributing, dispensing, or being under the influence of any controlled substance or alcohol.
There you go.
Using or illegal possessing drug paraphernalia or unlawfully possessing, using, distributing, dispensing, or using prescribed or over-the-counter medication.
So that doesn't even need to be added at all.
Nope.
then.
all
No.
right, so that was 32, what, Kim?
This is 3122.01. And there's various versions of it for support staff and professional staff.
All right, so we're good.
So we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Ability, drug-free workplace.
They eat all those gummies and they fall off.
I know, right.
All right, so would someone like to make a, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so, the one that I did have a question about was at 2221.
An observant.
So is this just saying that all of these days could be observed?
No, these Richard, these are the ones the state says that we will observe.
Wait, so then our meeting that we was talking about on September 11th, we can have.
Well, you can, if it's on a holiday.
No, it's just observing.
Things should be-
Oh, it's just an
Observing
observer?
the flag when we need to, those kind of things. when it's appropriate, that's all.
Cause I'm like, what are these
It's not
days
holidays,
even?
it's just observed.
What is the Great Hunger Day?
Okay, so we're gonna observe, so we'll observe 9/11.
So we
As a
normally
day
get
of observance.
emails from Matt or Kevin or I will get emails from the governor's office saying this is a special observance day for.
We do like the flag half staff or whatever, something like that.
They let us know when the Lord is like.
Okay, so, yeah, okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions, board members, in relationship to the second reading?
It's permanent day. And the Great Hunger Day.
Okay,
All right, so, would someone like to make a motion?
motion to approve the second reading of the Neola policy revisions, including policy 0100, policy 0175, policy, policy 2210, policy 2200. Do you want me to read it?
No, two numbers.
Policy 2220, policy 2221. Policy
Yeah, the 22, 21, 22, 20. There you go.
15/4215, policy 5200, policy 5250, policy 5330, policy 5340, policy 5410, policy 5512, policy 5517, policy 5771, policy 7434, policy 7440, policy 7544, policy 8405, policy 8420.01, policy 8450, policy 8600, policy 8800, policy 8802.
All right, motion has been made. Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? And you see that all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. All right, our next item is all right, motion to enter in the closed session. We're going to closed session.
I'd like to,
Mhm.
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to enter into closed session to discuss district administrative evaluation and personnel matters pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. You have a second? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion is made and seconded. All right, Ms. Davis Ashley.
Roll call, Vito,
Aye.
Daniels Ashley, aye. Megan. Absent. Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
And Walker.
Aye.
So that's 6-0.
801. 801. All right, so now we are officially going into closed session, and we will not be coming back into open session. So for those that are in attendance, that are online, thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. Enjoy the remainder of your evening and have a wonderful week.